was 12 years old in Richmond, Virginia, I went down to the public library and I became a volunteer page. So my job was shelving books and checking books out. It was a different age. And there certainly wasn't a gay or lesbian section, although at 12 years old I was pretty sure I would have been interested in finding it. So imagine my delight and surprise to move to San Francisco many years later and find out that the James C. Hormel Gay and Lesbian Center is going to open in the public library. That was a big deal for me. Here today, it's Program Director Karen Sundheim. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I remember that. I mean, I'm queer for books. I love books. And I thought it was a really big deal to have a gay and lesbian section in a library because, yeah, when I was young, if there were books about being gay and lesbian, they were the ones you had to ask the librarian for under the shelf.
Right.
How big a deal is it still?
To find queer books in the library?
Yeah, in the Hormel Center, and what you do.
Well, a lot of my job is to collect these books. So we have a wide range. A lot of what we have are scholarly materials that typically a public library may not have. But we also have a lot of books on sexuality, transgender, for example, LGBT relationships, practical books on dating. We have books on LGBT artists.
Yeah, and these aren't stuff that I can Google. That's the point.
True. I mean,
they're books.
They are books, yes. We have e-books. We have, also continuing with what we have a very large collection of films. We have feature films from all over the world. We have documentaries, a large collection of them on LGBT subjects. I'd say we probably have 5,000.
You know, there really is a part of our history that is disappearing in people's homes and attics, pages that are turning to dust. I mean, is the Hormel Center a place where if someone finds this cachet of incredible history that they can go and donate to you?
Yes, in fact, people do this all the time. I probably get a call every week from someone who wants to donate, and not just locally, people from all over the country. One of the difficult things is there's just so much space that we have. We can't take everything, and so it's hard to tell people that we don't have room for it.
Yeah.
But we do take things and sell them, if the person agrees, to raise money for the library.
For the library. Because now the Hormel Center is housed in the main branch of the San Francisco Public Library, which really is a spectacular building. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's not the last major metropolitan library built in the country, it was one of them. Well, I mean, as far as a modern building.
There have been some since then.
Yeah.
I mean, library architecture and modernization is really a big deal now. However, it was a very important new building.
Yeah. Besides the collecting you do, there's a whole program and educational component of your job and what the library does, the Hormel Center rather. Tell me about that.
Well, we have an exhibition space in the Hormel Center, and we have a new exhibition approximately every 3 months. Right now we have a very fun exhibit on 20 years celebrating the Dragapella Ensemble, the Kinsey Six. And you probably know about the Kinsey Six. Yeah, well, they've been around, they still perform, and we have a whole kind of history of their existence, and that includes wigs, clothes, photographs, paraphernalia, you know, memorabilia, all sorts of things.
Yeah, you talked about how the library movement, and it should be obvious, I'm fascinated by books and libraries. There's a movement to digitize everything.
Yes.
Well, some of this history you can't digitize. I mean, right?
Well, we actually are digitizing a lot.
So you're trying?
We are trying. In fact, we have some major digitization projects going on right now, including the Frameline LGBT Film Festival archive. They gave us 5,000 films, and ranging from the very beginning of the festival through about 2007. And we have had about 38 of those films digitized, and that may not sound like a lot of films.
No, it sounds like a lot of films.
But it's not only very expensive, but it's very important because we're preserving them as we digitize them. Some of these things fall apart after a while.
Well, I was going to ask you, what's the biggest challenge in your job? Is it preserving the past, or is it looking for the future?
It's Both. The library is supporting digitization for all of its collections. So that's going to happen very slowly. The future is a little scary because a lot of things are digitally born, and we're not sure how to do that.
Yeah. What was it I read the other day, and you may know more about this than I do, that the Library of Congress was pushing for a long time to get everything digital. But they realized over time, digital stuff wears out.
Exactly.
So that actually they were taking the digital stuff and printing it out to save the paper.
That's funny. And that I can see that happening. Digital forms change all the time. You have to be ready to migrate from one type of digital form to another. And we're really just learning about that. In fact, I'm going to be giving a presentation at the annual Association of Moving Image Archivists in a couple of months.
So you are part of sort of the LGBT community, but there's this rich library community there.
Yes.
What has the Hormel Center contributed to the library movement in general? What has the library movement learned from what's going on at the Hormel Center?
Well, hopefully more LGBT access and collections, and that is true. I get calls regularly from other libraries wanting to start an LGBT center, so we have that. We are creating a database of our digitized film collections, and actually a database of the 5,000 films, digitized or not. And we are getting requests from all over the world for those films.
So if I want to go online now and see what's part of the Hormel Center collection, I can do that?
To be honest, it's about a month away from being on the web.
Right.
But it is almost there. And in fact, we have had directors come or contact us because we had the only copy of their film, and they didn't even have a copy.
Right.
They submitted it to Frameline, and we have the only copy in the world.
Now, just so people understand what the center is it part of the lending collection of the San Francisco Public Library? I mean, can I go into the Hormel Center and check out a book?
Actually, the Hormel Center collection, no. That's a reference research collection. However, San Francisco Public Library has spent a lot of money to have a circulating
LGBT section.
Yes, it's enormous.
Now, what is the relationship between the Hormel Research Center and the Harvey Milk branch, the old Eureka Valley branch library here in the Castro? I myself have lived in the Castro for 28 years, and I've never known really the relationship.
Well, we try to coordinate some of our programs. I actually managed that branch for about 8 years, so I worked with my predecessor to have programs together, to order books together, things like that. But it's not the same. The branch is completely circulating books that you can check out. More of an emphasis on popular because there's such limited space.
In our last few minutes, talk to me about the best part of your job. What has been, well, I know for me, I had an incredible moment when I went to the Library of Coimbra in Portugal, which is one of the world's oldest universal libraries, and they brought down a book that was 800 years old in front of me and said you could look at it. I was like, wow. What's the rarest book you've ever laid your hands on? Something that when you got for the collection you went, that's special.
You know, I don't know if I can say about a book, but I will say that having archives and some of the things that I've gotten to hold and view. For example, we have Harvey Milk's archives, holding his childhood pictures, reading his love letters between him and Joe Campbell and other lovers of his, and really getting into the nitty-gritty and the everyday mundaneness of his relationships that were just like anyone else's. That was really touching.
Right.
And also, one of our newest collections is from the Coquettes founder, Creamer Ritz.
Wow.
And we have beautiful pictures of Sylvester and...
Wow. Well, thank you for helping preserve our history and our books. You know, as Thomas Jefferson said, I'd hate to live in a world without books. And I got to tell you, I'd hate to live in San Francisco without the Hormel Center. So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We've been speaking with Karen Sundheim. I'm David Perry. You've been watching 10%. Please tune in next week.